This is Pittsburgh Drafts Innovation, and I am Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and Tech 5 Radio. And we are talking to Carnegie Robotics. I'm talking to one, the only Mike Ambrisha. I might call you the adult of Carnegie Robotics. Mike, it's always great to hang out with you. We were so excited to draft Carnegie Robotics because you're just one of these companies that we think is just making all the right moves, and why would you not be our first round draft pick?
Yeah. Carnegie Robotics is the old dog. Pittsburgh has carved itself to being the robotics capital of the world. The media coins it as the Robotics Row, and I think it's safe to say that Carnegie Robotics was there before there was a row.
You were the first tenant, man.
Yeah, that's for darn sure. John Bears, our founder, CEO, and a few folks got the company off the ground in 2010, spun out of Carnegie Mellon University, the NREC, and 16 years later, one of the largest in our space, approaching 180 people.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and a very fiscally strong company.
Let's talk about fiscally strong, because you always bring this up, and I absolutely love it.
Oh,
the fact that you always say, no VC needed.
That's right, no VC needed. When our company got off the ground, it was essentially out of necessity. John Bears, JB as we love to call him.
Yeah.
He found a need, a void in the marketplace. Universities did not want to produce, they didn't want to set up a production line. They don't want the liability, they don't want the responsibilities of doing so. So he said, hey, listen, we're building all these great components and demonstrating and prototyping all these great technologies, but we have nowhere to build it and scale it. So Carnegie Robotics was born in a trailer, essentially over in the lot at NREC, the National Robotics Engineering Center, which was, they planted the flag as one of the first in the world.
Absolutely.
And then subsequently CMU established the world's first master's and PhD in robotics. So that's why a lot of people started coming to CMU in the 90s and, in the early 2000s for this new cutting edge degree. Well, our company was founded in 2010. 3 years in, there was a facility, the old Heppenstall Steel Factory, open about a block and a half away, 5-acre site right in the heart of Lawrenceville, and boom.
Perfect for an office and a test site and everything else in between, which is so cool. You go down there, it's like this whole ecosystem of building robots.
It is essentially a candy
systems.
store.
Yeah.
You take a 100-year-old building that was, Pittsburgh was known as the mecca of steelmaking and manufacturing, and all this old existing building stock still remained in certain pockets of town, specifically Lawrenceville. And so it became the right choice and the ideal choice to establish the new generation.
Exactly.
And so we took a big old facility with a dirt floor and put coils on the floor and heated it and put a nice HVAC system in and built 3 internal floors, and the company got a bounce in 2013, 2014. 2015, the CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick, wanted to buy the company. He arrived at the building unannounced.
I didn't realize he wanted to buy it. You're like, no, not
He wanted
for
to buy the
sale.
company.
But John's like, I'll work for you. And
Yes,
help you
right. That's exactly how it happened.
The ATG, the Advanced Technology Group, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, this is fact. This is not an exaggeration. Yeah. Travis Kalanick, the founder CEO of Uber, came to our building unannounced. Really? And JB had no idea who he was.
No way. I wouldn't know. I'm going to be like, oh, I've heard of you, but I don't really know what you
Didn't
look
like. Didn't know him.
And what are you doing in Pittsburgh?
Well, what Uber endeavored to do was to, they were doing great in ride hailing on the app, but they wanted to create an autonomous ride hail. And so in about 5 weeks' time, which is pretty remarkable, if anybody knows how IP deals are struck, it typically takes months, if not years.
So in 5 weeks, you guys struck a deal for John to help them with their autonomy.
They created a company called Uber ATG, Uber's Advanced Technology Group, and it lived in our building in Lawrenceville for the first 10 months. And all they had was a corporate credit card. So a lot of the listeners will remember in 2009, 10, 11, 2015, 2016 to 2017, you would see all these Uber cars all over the road they look like Frankenstein,
all
with a bunch of roving lights and the Volvos and the Ford Fusions. But JB was the founding director of Uber ATG Group, and a lot of engineers started piling into that business.
That was really the start of the whole autonomy industry here in Pittsburgh.
That was the spark.
You saw all these other companies come in. You had Ford come in and Hyundai and
Toyota, Audi,
all
etc.
of them, yeah.
But then, Brian Selesky, Pete Rander went off and started Argo AI, and Drew Bagnell, who was part of the Uber ATG Group, and Chris Armstrong out and started Aurora AI, and people went to Waymo and Motional and
It's
Cruise.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, you just look at how that was really the seed of it. I mean, yet Carnegie Robotics remains, which is great. And you do some great, you literally are the eyes behind so many devices out there, which I think is so cool.
That is fact.
Yes.
Our company, to close a loop on the Uber thing,
Yeah.
JB and everybody came back in 2017. And from that point forward, he kind of set the precedent and said, hey, listen, we're going to focus on off-road autonomy, not on-road. Off-road being agriculture and mining and construction and maritime. We do a lot on the water. Then, of course, defense and military.
Yeah, absolutely.
So today we're about, approaching 180 people, strong balance sheet. We have no debt as a company, which is interesting. We operate very conservatively. And we have no investors. That's the point that you were making
before. Yeah, it's just so weird that you don't have those constraints on you, which I think is a lesson everybody can learn out there, that you can build it this way. It is possible.
Yeah, it's absolutely. When you see, today's a different day than it was 16 years ago.
Surely.
But when you see that big blue building in Lawrenceville and the 45th and Hatfield, which is about 2 blocks down towards the river from Butler Street. That giant blue building, we've never raised a penny of VC money, of private equity money, never outside investors. So our cap table is very simple. It's founders and some key employees. So, and to be able to grow a business at scale, I can't give away our revenues because it's something we hold dear, but they're up there.
You're doing okay for yourselves.
Yeah, and we're profitable. We've been profitable 14 of the last 16 years of our existence.
That's what I just love hearing, because that's not something you often hear when it comes to robotics companies and tech companies, and to know that you've been that way and you keep growing.
Yes.
You're part of it. I mean, literally, I think you basically established Pittsburgh's Robotics Row. I think literally, I think the first tenant there, or one of the first, if not, I might even gather to say you were the first tenant.
Without question. I think there was probably not even a half dozen robotics companies in Pittsburgh during that time in 2010. Today, there's, depending on who you listen to, it's over 120 robotics companies in Pittsburgh. So certainly the old dog. We do some things great. We do some things not so great because we're a company. We're human.
Yeah, of course.
We are mere mortals. But I got to tell you,
I don't know about John, may not be.
He's not. No, he's definitely.
He might be up there in the pantheon somewhere else.
He's a rare one. But, the one thing about our company is we don't market ourselves. We have to explain and describe who we are and what we are, because we specialize in standing behind the kitchen door.
Yeah, you're behind there solving problems, putting that stuff into market, putting it to use and get the work done.
If you're
very Pittsburgh of you guys.
Very Pittsburgh. Yes. It's us against the world. And, we have a little slogan that maybe only about 5 of us use, because it's nothing that,
surely
you want bouncing around the shop floor, but it's very simple. It's, if we don't produce, we don't eat. And then
so simple.
And then
I love it.
Following up with, we eat what we kill. And that's the truth. It's that mentality. And it all starts with JB. And I know we reference him a lot, but, you don't go to Carnegie Robotics to live the life that you see on an HBO show, right? We have our heads down and we get to work.
Well, speaking of working, tell me about your role at the company.
Yeah.
I think you play this very pivotal role. You're like this connector between business and engineering.
Yeah.
In so many ways. I think you're able to hang out with the engineers, and you're able to hang out with the business folks. And that, to me, I think is a very crucial role that you play at Carnegie Robotics.
Yes, it's why I seek therapy. My role, so officially I'm the Chief Development Officer, which is a name that, when I started with the company, there wasn't a job opening. There wasn't an application process. Heck, I don't think anybody has my resume. It was...
how'd you end up there?
Yeah, it was an 8-month courting back and forth. I'm going to jump into my 7th year this fall.
That's awesome.
So, which is pretty wild. Time flies. And my role is that I sit to the right hand of the CEO and focus on the business of the company. To give you an example, there are 7 executives on the team. And originally, way back when I started, it was 4 or 5 of us, and we've grown it to 7, 6 of which are engineers, 2 of them are PhDs, and then there's me. I'm a guy who went to IUP and got an MBA at Duquesne, and I spend my days just fighting with engineers, I guess. But my role is also that, hey, Mike, can you get to Texas? Can you get to DC? Can you get to Detroit? And to try to be that glue. I'd love to.
I love that, the glue.
I'd love to say that, all those things that are being built, I built that. I didn't build anything. Heck, I barely even jump into a proposal these days. I am really blessed to have, I believe, be part of the smartest team I've ever witnessed in my professional career.
Yeah.
And I could say that confidently as a 47-year-old, that I've never worked with a finer collection of people. We compete with a lot of folks in the ecosystem. We don't compete with anybody locally on business per se. We may compete on on employees, on staff, on
Right. But
teammates.
as far as for actual clientele and
No.
so forth, yeah,
You're
working on the global scale
correct.
when it comes to
Yeah.
that, which is pretty cool.
We
And I
don't
love the
sell
fact that you're bringing customers from around the world and you're seeing what Pittsburgh can build,
exactly.
right?
With the exception of Wabtec, who we've partnered up with 3 or so years ago.
Sure.
We have tremendous partnership, and
I love it.
and that started with me having a coffee with a few key
I
people
love it.
at, of all places, the Andy Warhol
There
Museum.
you go. Even
before I
better
went-
yet.
Before going to a Christmas party, I remember, having a coffee with them, and a month or two later, we just kind of looked at each other, going,
Why aren't we working together?
"We're literally separated by a mile and a half."
That's crazy.
But outside of that, all of our partners are beyond Pittsburgh, so that's why we don't do a lot of marketing here. We don't do a lot of marketing, period. But
I guess the work speaks for itself.
it does.
It's as
But I
simple
tell
as
you,
that.
one of the things that we recognized was, especially in the tech space, and you guys see this, and the Tech Council does a heck of a job trying to foster better communication. We recognize that a lot of the companies work in silos. So, Aurora, great example, right? They're the big machine right down the road, very well funded, excellent team. We work very closely with Aurora. They don't pay us. We don't pay them. There's no financial transactions
But
between
you
our
hang out
companies.
together and
But
you
guess
work.
what?
Yeah.
If they have a piece of equipment going down, you know what they do?
They help.
They send their team over to us.
I love that.
And
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I love hearing that. This just goes to show that
It's beautiful.
you're really building this to make something great,
Absolutely.
not just for the company, which is obviously so important, but the idea that's going to just strengthen the region, because when you succeed and when Aurora succeeds, the whole region just comes along. for the
When
ride.
Argo had troubles, the first iteration of Brian and Pete's enterprise, we were terribly sad because, we have a great relationship with Brian. Brian is actually one of our owners. He's a wonderful human being, and Pete's wonderful. And we were just sad to see what happened to the Argo experiment, but elated when they got Stack AV off the ground. And the same with Aurora and a lot of these other entities. We have a unique spirit here in Pittsburgh. Most companies would be very territorial and say, "I'm not going to let them enter into our building."
Exactly. Right. Yeah. You're the competition.
Yeah. Well, I'll be very blunt.
Yeah.
We haven't lost anybody to any folks. And, our culture speaks for itself. So while you can go somewhere else to a venture-backed company and make oodles of more money and stock options and all that other stuff, I could say it confidently that our retention is insanely high.
It's got to be.
Because it's the culture.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just,
I've been to your office many times, and I see the people that are working there, dude. People are just into it. Right?
They're into it. I mean, they work damn hard, but it's a badass place to work.
100%. Like, I don't want to leave when I'm there. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, it's because there's a level of fulfillment with the different technologies and the different markets that you're tapping into and solving problems for. And a lot of that work we can't talk about because it's defense related. And
that's why I think it's so cool, because some of the work that you're doing is literally saving people's lives. Correct. Which is so cool.
Yes, safety is a huge component. But, to put a bow on local, camaraderie, we thrive in those environments. Listen, we're a mature company now, so we have the ability to give back a little bit, and if Aurora's water jet goes down, like it happened 6 or so months ago, and they have to send a team of 10 people to us to cut a bunch of metal.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
They're coming and we're making sure that they have lunch with all of our team.
I love it.
They're,
so cool.
We're bringing it, they're stopping by with sweet treats and all that. I mean, it's just fun because that's who we are as an ecosystem. And there's a lot of other stories that are out there like that.
But that's why we picked you guys, because those are all the things that combined is make you guys something that's just amazing here in Pittsburgh. And that we just want to try to shine a little bit of light on that, because people just don't always know that. Like I said, people roll past that Heppenstall Mill and have no idea what's going on in there. Luckily, I do. Yep. I roll past there. I'm like, what's Mike doing in there?
I tell you, it is a hidden gem. So, the Tech Council is great in this regard, the Allegheny Conference, the RIDC, Don Smith and Tim White. Anytime they're bringing in recruits to move to Pittsburgh,
they show them.
They come to our space.
I love that.
And,
it's a great place to take people.
We walk them through and
get them
share
stoked.
them, and they get to learn about, the development opportunities in Pittsburgh and the infrastructure and who are the good contacts. And they know that they get it'll be me that will run those tours, myself or JB. To just give them an unvarnished view. Right? Again, you remember back in 2010, this was a unique ecosystem where there was a lot of uncertainty.
Very much so. It was very nascent and not sure where it was going to go.
Very nascent. And now it's thriving. And so we have to always remember where we came from and make sure that, hold on to that star because it's still shooting high.
Yeah.
Finally, I think I'd say with our business, we do two things. I guess I left that part out. On one side of the shop, we engineer autonomy. So we work with the world's largest OEMs in agriculture, mining, and all those industries and help them autonomize a thing. And typically when that thing gets to market, then we go to the second thing that we do as a company. We design and build the products that power that autonomy. Specifically a stereo camera. It's a big block computer with eyes. How does a robot see, right? Or a pose filter. It's a little, they call it a GNSS INS product.
Okay.
Basically, It's a block of like 3 of these cell phones stacked on top of each other.
Right.
Where is that robot in the world, regardless of whether or not there's GPS?
Exactly.
It gives you localization. It gives you heading. For instance, with our boats, we partnered with Boston Whaler and Brunswick Corp, right? We have these big boats that you guys have done a good job sharing. There's a pose product on the bow and the stern because it shows where that boat is at any given time.
And it needs to know that when it's self-docking.
Correct. If you go to Canada, like all of the Canadian national, locomotives, and you're talking, thousands upon thousands of units have 2 units per train.
And
right?
those are Carnegie Robotics units?
Those are Carnegie Robotics.
I love it.
There's over 15,000 of these units out in the marketplace. And,
Yeah.
this is the hidden secret to what we do. Boston Dynamics, a great example. The dog, the Spot the
Yeah,
robot dog.
Exactly.
Well, if you go to bostondynamics.com right now, I'm willing to bet my next paycheck. And I haven't been on the site in months. You will see a dog on the homepage of that website with a giant camera.
Yes.
Pan tilt zoom camera.
That's your camera?
That's our camera.
See, that's what I'm talking about,
Like
man.
that's
It's so amazing.
There's no sticker on it. This is Carnegie Robotics, but we designed it in Pittsburgh and we build it in Pittsburgh. We
Even
test
better
it,
yet, you
we
build it
commission
here,
it
dude.
in our building. Everything is done within our space. So this is just how paramount it is for the Pittsburgh economy. It's not sent away. It's designed here,
all
built
done
here,
yeah.
tested and calibrated here. It's wrapped up in a pretty box and it's sent.
In a pretty box.
That's it.
Your only marketing is a pretty Carnegie Robotics
Right.
box.
Soon you're going to see a lot of military vehicles are going to be driving around without a human in them.
Yeah.
And
how cool is that?
we're
Once again, talk about saving lives, keeping
Correct.
people out of danger. That's
Exactly
what you guys
what we
do,
do.
man.
And that's probably what you're going to see in the future, probably in late 26, 27, 28. I believe that we are already in the eyes of the defense world, both, with the U.S. government, but also with the environment of companies, everything from Lockheed Martin on down.
Yeah.
They know Carnegie Robotics.
Of course.
We do the autonomy behind Lockheed's HIMARS product and all these other ones, but you don't see those things branded. There's amazing things being built in Lawrenceville that
right behind those walls of the blue happens to
That's right.
building, and why it's so much fun to have these conversations because now people know.
And it's really wild, Jonathan, to watch the news, especially with current events going on, and know what's going on.
Yes.
And know that products are going to be deployed, and knowing that our little Pittsburgh company has a little bit of
something going on there. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Mike, you're the best, man.
That's crazy.
It's such a good story. That's why we drafted you guys for our first round. You're the best, Mike and Brescia, of course, of Carnegie Robotics, the glue, the adult, as I like to say, making sure people get paid and all that kind of fun stuff. So in case you forgot.
Making sure people pay us, too.
Exactly. Well, that's it. That's just as important. In case you forgot, this is Jonathan Kirsting. I'm with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and, of course, Tech Vibe Radio.